So if you enjoy the outdoors, but you're not necessarily a conservationist, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. You can support our organization to help support your outdoor recreation needs. I really love that we take Hubble Trading Post on the road. So Hubble will go to some other parks like White Sands and Petroglyph.
Yeah.
And there our staff will talk about Navajo weaving and talk about culture and, educate, to go into other places. You probably don't know, but Tumacacri down south of Tucson, when it rains during the monsoons, they have fireflies. Fireflies in Arizona.
Looking for real stories of real people making a difference in the Grand Canyon State? Welcome to Finding Arizona podcast. We sit down with Arizona's inspiring entrepreneurs, creatives, and community leaders and give you a front row seat to their journeys, passions, and projects. Whether you're a local trying to find a hidden gem or just enjoy watching someone chase their dreams, Finding Arizona is your go-to place for authentic conversations with a desert twist. New episodes drop weekly, so hit subscribe and start exploring Arizona one story at a time.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. And as always, we bring in fantastic guests every week. Today's no different. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say we sit down with a lot of leaders, visionaries, change makers of all shapes and sizes. So to get to experience today with you is just something that off air we were talking about that is really great for my soul and for what I'm going to share here. Ladies and gentlemen, you also see this on top of my head. I have in front of me Marie Buck, President and CEO of Western National Parks. Since stepping into the CEO role in 2022, Marie has been leading the charge in expanding partnerships, strengthening the organization's impact, and enhancing the visitor experience across more than 70 national parks. Her work sits at the intersection of conservation, education, unforgettable outdoor experiences, helping millions of visitors deepen their connection to the natural world. In today's episode, we'll talk with her about leadership, conservation, and how Arizona's landscape continue to inspire not just visitors, but entire communities. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Jose.
We were talking off air, and one of the things that I find so great about what you do is just, again, my connection to the place that we're going to be talking about, Grand Canyon, but also just my connection to the outdoors. My love of being outside and conservation has always just been somewhat of like that pillar of my life that I really enjoy doing, just being outside. And I'm a big runner, trail runner, so I love that. But I would love more to get into you today. And one of the things that I always ask everyone who comes on our show is, give us a little bit of your origin story. I know we're here to talk about, the business side, but I would love just quickly about your story and how does one go, again, from, we were talking off air, your history and your kind of timeline and going from this world of NASCAR and moving into, how does one traverse all of this? Give us an origin story.
So it's a really interesting and almost like a full circle type of process. Yeah. So, I grew up as an only child. My mom and dad, and what we did for vacations was we went to national parks. We went camping. We went hiking. We got in the station wagon and off we went. Like you'll hear from a lot of kids who grew up in America. And I always loved national parks. And as I became a teenager, I wanted to be a park ranger. I wanted to wear the uniform. I wanted to be out there helping visitors have amazing experiences and learn from these landscape. But at the time, and that was some time ago without revealing my age, it was not known as an easy process for women. And it was also known to be a difficult process to even get a job with the Park Service. Yeah. And I wanted to be independent and out on my own as quickly as possible. Yeah. So I got into events. I got a finance degree, an accounting degree, but I started working events. I worked baseball. I worked for the arts with Phoenix Symphony. I worked for the Arizona State Athletics. And then I spent 21 years in NASCAR. But all through that time frame, there was always the outdoors and national parks. In fact, I like to think of national parks, I like to think of them as part of my family. Yeah. I'm an only child, but many parks have always been there with me during major life issues, whether it was a joyous time, like a college graduation,
Yeah.
or maybe a traumatic time, like the loss of my first spouse. But the parks always provided me that solace and that connection and just that feeling of comfort and helping me find myself. So as we were working in NASCAR, we started to get more involved in the community and started serving on community boards.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we decided was, if you're going to serve as a volunteer board member, go work or do your service for an organization that you care about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I had spent a lot of time with my father backpacking in the Grand Canyon. We got really lucky and learned how to get jobs as boatmen on the Colorado River, doing whitewater rafting trips, in the summer.
Yeah.
So every summer I would go on one trip with my dad and I would be his assistant. He would row a boat.
That's amazing.
As he got older and became less physically capable, our roles kind of reversed. I would row the boat and he would be the assistant. So, I grew up in the Grand Canyon. I had so many experiences there. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to go commit my volunteer time, I want to do it for something I really love. So I joined the board of Grand Canyon Conservancy, which is the nonprofit that supports Grand Canyon National Park. Then a job opened up, and it was the perfect time in my career to make a shift to do something that even resonated more for me. And I always loved connecting people to experiences. So in sports, people go to sports because they love the experience. They love their team. They love seeing the live action. That's their passion. And it's no different with parks. It's just a different experience.
Yeah.
And so working for Grand Canyon Conservancy was great. But then this opportunity with Western National Parks presented itself. I wasn't looking for it. And I thought, wow, over 70 parks and the ability to impact the experience of over 20 million visitors going to all these different places. And they get to experience something different.
Yeah.
It's not just a river. It's not just a desert or a cultural landscape. It's historical. There's so many different parks that really can appeal to just anyone. What an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of so I ended up in a career now where I get to support and help the National Park Service in a different way without actually being a National Park Service employee.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally relate. It's one of those things where, again, I look at, how people traverse from career choices and also timeline wise of their actual life. It's really endearing that when I hear stories, I look at the scope, the bigger picture. And for me, I love the fact that some people are truly just, I fell into it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Or some people are dedicated from very early on and almost indoctrinated by their parents or grandparents or something like that. And so there's these levels of like finding the roots of the tree that I love about storytelling and about people's stories and where they come from. So that's why I typically ask that first question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Again, I love the fact that you spent so much time in the different parks, that you have that much of a connection. So there is a semblance of like they mean something to you. So what was that like, accepting that role and becoming CEO and what that meant for you, especially the younger you that wanted to be that park ranger?
It was really just a transformational moment in my, for me as a person, and then also for me professionally. And it carried, and it still does, it carries a lot of responsibility, right? And so we were at a place as an organization where we wanted to have a bigger impact to our parks, meaning we wanted to be able to give them more financial resources, really, because nobody ever says the parks don't need our help. They need our help more and more.
Absolutely.
It was that way 3.5 years ago, and it'll continue to build.
Yeah.
So it's just a tremendous responsibility to take an organization that wanted to grow, that wanted to have a national footprint, that wanted to be a leader amongst our peers in terms of bringing people to parks. Like, let's help educate people about all these incredible parks within our portfolio, none of which are considered like a super park, like a Grand Canyon or a Zion.
Yeah.
But we have an incredible portfolio of all these parks that are just as amazing. So how do we get people to come to those parks, have that great experience, and then, become a steward in whatever way that works best for them?
Yeah.
And so it's been a very transformational 3.5 years.
Beautiful.
We've done a lot of really great things in terms of how we position ourselves. We're raising more money for parks than we ever did in the past. And we're also, and it's not just about money, our people who work in the retail stores. So kind of to back it up a little bit, let's just take Montezuma Castle as an example.
Yes.
It's not too far from where
one
we're
of the closest ones.
speaking
One of the
today.
closer ones.
When you go and you park in the parking lot and then you go into the visitor center, you see the bookstore and you see all of the different products that are there. And those are all carefully curated with the Park Service to make sure that when you buy something, that's an interpretive memory or experience that you're taking home.
Yeah.
And you will always remember your trip to Montezuma Castle and what you learned there. And that's what we do, that, and those funds then go back to support that park and help pay for things that they need support with funding. It could be cultural demonstrations.
Yeah.
It could be the Junior Ranger program.
Oh,
Just a plethora of things, dark sky programs.
Yes.
So that money then all goes back to our parks. And some of the small parks don't have the resources that our larger parks have. And so we're able to support those parks as well.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it fulfilling.
Yeah. There's some level of like, you guys are trying your best to like be inclusive as well. Like this is, like you were saying, the smaller parks, the bigger parks feed the smaller parks sort of deal. And that's really incredible that you guys built a system that will allow that. And that's endearing because those little ones just need just as much as attention as the bigger ones as well. So
Absolutely.
One of the things that you brought up, and I kind of want to start picking at some of what we're trying to get into is experience.
Yeah.
And coming in from the outside perspective of like someone who would be the experience portion part, how hard is it for you? Like, do you like you in particular? I imagine that there's a team that tries their best to kind of create some experience, whether that's in the actual store or along the actual park route in itself. How much collaborative time do you spend with those team members? And also how much are you trying to just keep things rolling with the team members?
Sure. So we're really fortunate that we have a really great staff, not only at the home office, but we have managers that oversee the different regions.
Yeah.
And the people that really make that impact for our visitors are our park staff in the stores. And they really are an extension of the National Park Service.
Yeah.
Now, there are things they can't do because, the National Park Service has to do that. But they are answering questions, helping visitors wayfind, giving them recommendations about, that trail is probably a good idea today, or maybe you should think about something differently. So by doing that, that also frees up our Park Service staff to focus on other things that are related to the park and caring for the park and stewarding for the park. Because it is so much about the visitor experience, but there are also things that have to happen behind the scenes to make sure that the resource is, protected and cared for.
Yeah.
So we have a very broad network, but at the same time, we're just also interrelated.
Yeah. It's so fascinating too, because you look at the scope of just the amount of different parks. Each one has their own particular set of things that they need, or even in itself, the seasonal things that they are trying to endear. Some places might have flora or fauna that only sprout so many times of the year.
Right.
Maintenance on that is particular. I'm very, as a designer, I'm very much on the wayfinding. I love reading the signs. That's my particular jam. I'm like, especially in museums and parks, I'm just the guy that's looking at the sign, reading about the history, reading about those different, tidbits that the park leaves behind. And I find that so fascinating. It's so much fun to just stop and read the signs.
Yeah.
Like they're there for a reason.
One of the trails that I really appreciate so much is the one at Tonto.
Okay. Yeah.
And that takes you up to the dwelling. It's just a short half-mile trail.
Yeah.
But when you are at the bottom, at the top of the VC, and you look up and you think, oof, that's really steep.
Yeah.
And it is a paved trail, but at every so many feet, there's an interpretive sign. So about the time you start to really breathe hard and think, I need a break, then you've got that sign there that tells you what you're looking at, tells you about the history, tells you about the people that were there long before it was ever a park, and what the valley looked like before there was a lake that was dammed up. And it pretty soon you're there.
Yeah.
And then there's a ranger at the top to answer questions for you while you're in the dwelling.
I love that. That is, again, like things like that, the experience of like taking a moment to just take in the information is allowing someone to not only take in information, but also experience that, like, different feet, like, your elevation height changes. That changes your experience.
Exactly.
Your where you are on the actual trail in the mountaintop is different than with, let's say, down below.
Right.
So it's important that we take time to recognize those things because they will eventually, that's something that most people will just walk by and just like, I feel like it's so much more important to have those elements. And it's a lot that you guys put in there that I just find very appreciative. Like, it's, again, as the trail person that's there for, it's like, I really like it. And I do always wonder, like, always who's behind the scenes, and it's very nice to meet the person. So one of the things, before we get any further, in your own life experience, I just want to bring to the audience is, like, you are very much, I want to say thrill seeker, but it's like you like whitewater rafting, right?
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. And it's scary.
I want you to tell the audience how many times you've been.
So we know the number is at least 30. I couldn't tell you like the exact number if you were to somehow fact check me, but I know that it's at least 30. And the way that we got into whitewater river rafting, and only in the Grand Canyon, have never done it anywhere else.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So my dad and I booked a trip as passengers when I graduated college.
Okay.
Because we backpacked in the canyon all the time, and we're like, we're going to do this. This is going to be amazing. So we booked the whole trip from Lee's Ferry all the way to the lake. And my dad was crafty and very clever. And he observed that there were these people rowing the supply boats. And he started asking questions. He said, like, how did people get that job? Because I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
And so they said, well, you have to talk to some people, and if you're lucky, maybe they'll let you come on as a swamper. And, he was in his mid 50s at the time, so he was not a young man, but he was in really great shape.
Yeah.
So he did exactly that. And he convinced the company to let him go on a trip. And so his very first trip down the Colorado River, he got on one of the supply boats, we call them baggage boats, with another young guy, in his 20s, right? This guy wants to be a guide. My dad just wants to be on the river. And they both looked at each other and they said, how many times have you rowed the Colorado?
Oh, no.
And the guy says to my dad, none. And my dad said, me neither.
Oh,
and
no.
Down they went with no problems. And
wow.
No problems, no training. I'm not saying anybody should do that. I do not recommend it. But just because he worked hard and he loved the canyon, he took care of passengers, he took care of what the guides needed. They just had him keep coming back. And then I got to come along and I learned the same work ethic that he had. I learned how to row, and yes, it is thrilling to go whitewater river rafting. It is also terrifying at moments, because it is pretty big experience, but I mean, it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
I haven't been in a couple of years, and I'm really hoping I can get back on the river next year.
I think it would be fun to kind of do an anniversary, like, in remembrance of your father.
Absolutely. Well, and I've done a few of those since he passed, for sure.
Yeah.
But
it's so
I
great.
just need to get back on the water. That would be very good for my soul.
I get that. That's a level of connection that you won't ever forget because that's something that you and your father will share forever. And it's incredible. So going into your role here, and just as much as we were talking about the joy and the development part of it, the one portion of it is advocacy. And I would be remiss being part Native American, part of the Hopi tribe. I would just like to personally ask about like tribal affiliations and tribal connections that you share with the park and the system that you guys go through with the connections through that network.
No, absolutely. I'm really glad that you asked that question, because tribal relations and stewardship of those communities is really important to me as a human, not just in my job. And so we do have 3 parks that are on the Navajo Nation.
Yeah.
You know, we have Hubbell Trading Post, we have Navajo Monument, and we have Canyon de Chelly.
Oh, awesome.
All of our employees are from the community.
Yeah.
And so, you know, over the last few years, we've been learning how to be different employers, how to learn about culture, you know, and how to shift our operations to be more supportive of those communities.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so much that we, like myself and folks who are not Native, have to learn and could benefit from, in terms of like spirituality and how you view, how people view the world.
Yeah.
So that has been something that's been a very big focus for us. Our board has a cultural stewardship committee now.
Great.
And we have some really great members of the community who are on that committee to just really help us continue to learn, to start to build relationships, because everything has to be built on trust.
Absolutely.
And that takes a very long time, and it's really important to invest that time. So that, you know, that's really important. I think something that folks probably don't know about us, not that many people, you know, have been to Hubbell Trading Post.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite sites because it is so different. You know, it operates as a historical trading post. We have a trader, you know, who's Navajo on site. And, you know, he is purchasing rugs and jewelry and crafts from the people living in the community.
Oh, awesome.
You know, and it's not a trading post, you know, or a company. It's these one-to-one relationships where he is talking to the artist or he's talking to the weaver and he's learning the story about that particular rug, you know, and what the weaver was thinking about or what the weaver put into that rug.
Absolutely.
You know, and then that, what's appropriate is shared with the folks that come visit the trading post and eventually purchase the rug. But, you know, that's a really big, I don't want to say service because that's the wrong word, but it's a really important part of that community.
For sure.
Our agreement with the Park Service is different. You know, we have to operate that trading post as a community partner to Ganado and the surrounding communities. And so that comes with a lot of care. It needs to come with a lot of respect.
Yes.
And it's really beautiful. Like I feel like it's really a beautiful thing.
Well, I think it's, you know, I could go on for days for this. This is something that I grew up around this, and that's something that is just, it's even part of our fundamental process of how we do this podcast. I mean, I try my best to bring as many voices and different perspectives, even ones that I don't agree with. I try my best to endear and open and listen to them because they are a part of this community and they are a part of, you know, this thing that we call entrepreneurship.
Right.
I want them to have their chance at the table, so to speak. And that's something that I've grown up around and also see in different kind of stores that I went to as a kid. And I love it. It's just something I grew up around, and I think it's one-to-one. Like, there's still nothing better than that feeling of like, I bought something, but I know the story behind it. I can tell my guests when they come and say, hey, that's beautiful. Tell me more about it.
Right.
I have it right in my pocket.
Right.
And so that's something that I think that's the best way of like purchasing, feeling better about your dollars going towards something.
Something real.
Yeah.
Right. And something that made a difference in someone's life, not only the artist, because it's, you know, it's important, you know, people need economic vitality, but also to yourself and your person, you know. And I think, you know, you mentioned it's important to have a seat at the table for communities. I think it's important for these communities to own the table. honestly. And then we have a seat at the table.
Well, I agree with you, and thank you for having that and sharing that opinion, because that to me is something of I wish there were more people like you. And I know it can be hard pill to swallow sometimes, especially in the world of like money, finance. It's but at the same time, I think it is very much important to a people, a culture.
Yes.
An entity that has been there for the longest time. And so we will take a commercial break.
Okay.
But when I come back, I have more questions for you.
Okay. I'll be ready.
Awesome. All right. We are back. I have a couple of personal questions, or not personal, but questions that are on my mind that I really want to get out there. So
please do.
For someone who enjoys the outdoors but doesn't have really a thought about conservation, why should they care about supporting an organization like yours?
So if you enjoy the outdoors, but you're not necessarily a conservationist, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. You can support our organization to help support your outdoor recreation needs. People like to hike, people like to boat, people like to get outside. And so by supporting Western National Parks, you're continuing to enhance that recreational opportunity for you as an outdoors lover.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a little bit of a conservationist in all of us, even if we don't want to admit it.
Yes, very much so.
Just for the fact that we love the outdoors.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity that means for us.
Absolutely. I think 100% there is, every person has that thing that they care about.
Right.
And if you dwindle it down to its elemental phases or elemental portions, I think it comes down to it's something that's outdoors. There's something that you can get outdoors. And it's just there's a wanting to just want what you want. And so it's if you take the time to appreciate it a little bit more and just tell people you want it to be taken care of. It's just as easy as it gets.
Well, and we need the outdoors. I mean, we know that we need that for our body rhythms and for our mental health. Those are all the things that help us as humans.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to go to a park. Just go outside in your backyard and, be out in the grass or, look at the trees or, pay attention to the birds that are flying around. But the outdoors and that sunlight, just anything other than artificial light, it matters.
Absolutely.
And it makes a huge difference. I know that if I spend 10 minutes outside in the morning watering my garden, my mental space is so much better than it would be if I didn't.
Yeah.
Just that simple act.
That simple little 10, 15 minutes. You know what I do? I spend some time out in the sun and I just let it, in the morning, I just let it just come on to when the sun rises, there's a level of appreciation of that first morning glow that it's just great. It's amazing. And I'm a big runner too. So it's the first thing in the morning run is just so amazing. Fresh air, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's we need it. And I know when I drive up even to the Grand Canyon or to some of our other parks in Northern Arizona, as I'm in the car and I'm on the road and I start to see the landmarks, whether, it's the mountains or maybe I'm headed, from Sunset Crater to Wapaki and I'm starting to see, you can see the sites from afar, they're here and I can see the Colorado Plateau.
Yeah.
I can physically feel it. I can feel it's like thorns being pulled out of my body because I feel this release of whatever it is that's in there. It's soothing, it's
the homey
it's
feeling.
Extractive in a way, in a good way. It's just oh my God.
I love that.
I can breathe.
Okay. If you had one perfect day off in Arizona, no work, no obligations, what does that day look like from start to finish?
One perfect day in Arizona, no work and no obligations. I would be out in the landscape doing something.
I know.
There's so many different places that would be hard to name one.
Well, here's one, because you did bring up one of your favorite spots, one of your favorite trails. I would love to understand, there are a lot of hidden gems. Is there one even the smaller parks. Like I would love to get like somewhat of a favorite gem that people should try and seek out.
I really enjoy Wapaki National Monument for many reasons. It's very accessible. You know, so many people can see Wapaki. You can drive there. You can go to the main site and really have a really great learning and cultural experience.
Right.
But Wapaki also at times will offer what's called the Crack in the Rock hike.
Yes.
And I've done that several times before COVID. And that's where you go out with a ranger-led hike, you backpack.
Yeah.
And you backpack to these amazing mesas and sites that are not open to the public. And they give you some cultural interpretation. You go up there when the sun is going down. And that is an incredibly moving experience. And it's really an incredible honor and privilege like that I've been able to do that twice. So I would say that, you know, that would be a perfect 2 days.
Yeah, that's amazing.
To do that again.
There's 2 questions that came out of your answer that last. One is the vice versa. What is either one site that is very difficult for you guys to maintain and that people need to be aware of if they do go to the site, or one site that you generally just like, it's very precious, it's delicate, that we need to be aware of?
That's also a very hard question to answer because all of the sites have challenges, you know, with resources. All of the sites have different needs. I think one site that I think about in Arizona, I wouldn't say that it's difficult to maintain, but it's not easy to get to. So like Fort Bowie on your way to Chiricahua, you hike in to several miles, hike in, and there is accessibility for folks that need it, but generally you hike in and then, you know, it can be very hot. It's a beautiful hike. So it's really off the beaten path. You really kind of need to work at it to get there. Plan, we want to go there. So that would be one. And here's the other one that comes to mind as I think about this a little more. I mean, Organ Pipe. So Organ Pipe, you know, is right there on the border. You know, that park has dealt with, you know, the human transit in between the, you know, Mexico and the US. So there's a lot of complexities with that site. And it's a beautiful park.
You know what? I have no doubt, but it's like the complexities itself with just what you guys have to deal with, the government, trafficking, all of that stuff. It blows my mind that you guys have Organ Pipe stays similar, or even just trying to keep it similar is like, task.
Well, and for our staff, so, you know, when you go to a visitor center, you view our staff as an extension of the National Park Service, but we are separate. So, you know, our staff are really supporting the NPS team, and it's the NPS folks that take, you know, most of that, you know, the complexities of what happens, you know, and there's a lot of really important human stories there.
Of course.
There's a lot to learn there. I mean, when I think about Organ Pipe, I get goosebumps because it's powerfully beautiful and it's powerfully tragic in many ways.
At the same time, there was the incident, it affected everything. COVID would, during that time, really shut down the parks, limited the parks, and that internally also limited funding, or some of the effects of that was funding too nowadays. How do you guys keep yourselves not only inclusive in accepting help from government official or like government funding, also at the same time procuring other opportunities for resourcing funding?
So a really interesting fact that people don't realize about Western National Parks is we rely on no federal funding whatsoever.
That's the kind of answer I would love to hear, because that's something that I'm more intrigued more and more, especially in the nonprofit side, because again, I'm only here to listen, but it's like I see the effect. You know, it's hard times for everyone, and trying to get something like government funding
Right.
is a hoop to jump through, so to speak.
So the beauty of the organization is like, while we're a nonprofit, we're really self-sustaining. We have to operate as a for-profit business, with the mindset of what are we doing to generate support in dollars for parks? And to do that, you have to generate additional revenue.
Yeah.
So we've taken a lot of steps through, our Western National Parks branding and being more external and bringing more visitors and people into the fabric of who we are.
Yeah.
That helps us build more park protectors. Park protectors have a membership with us.
Nice.
It gives them discounts in our store, but it also gives them access to special events, and it builds that supportership, which then also helps build a pipeline for future folks who might want to donate at a higher level later on in their life, or maybe even immediately. So we're building this network of people, that are supporting our parks, either financially or by buying something in the stores, maybe buying something on our online store.
Yeah.
Or even just educating them to be better park visitors.
Yeah.
When the parks struggle with funding, we can jump in certain things. We can help provide programming and education funding support, when they need that. But other things, we can't. So like teaching a park visitor, like, hey, when you stop at that viewpoint at this park, don't leave your trash in the trash can. Just take it out of the park.
Yeah.
Be a responsible visitor. Don't leave no trace.
Yeah.
Become a volunteer. Thank a park ranger. Thank them, because NPS staff are the most inspiring people that you will ever meet. They love the resource. They love teaching about the park to visitors. Like, if you ever want to cheer yourself up on a day, I will call an NPSer and just have a nice conversation with them, and they just inspire me so much.
There's a level of like, those rangers, those staff members. Like, I never in my life have I encountered someone who works at the park that probably wasn't smiling or at least enjoying what they do. Right. And that's incredible. I you brought that to my attention. I'm like, I've never met a nice ranger or staff member at one of those national parks. It's like, I can't imagine. Yeah. If you work there, you might have a bad day or two, but it's like you're working at a beautiful sceneresque area, and it's every day. Well,
and there's any profession has challenges, right? But it's just a unique person that works for the National Park Service. And I can say the same for our team as well. Yeah. When we interview potential new employees, one of the common things when they ask us, like, why do you work? Or what's the best thing about your job? And it's all our love of the mission, and you don't have to be running whitewater. You don't have to be a backcountry hiker to love parks, because there's just so many different ways to enjoy our parks. Yeah. And so that's the common thread, is we all do it because we love the mission, and so, yes, it's a job, but it's a privilege.
Perfect. I will go into now, and this will be kind of the final portion. Sure. It's the education side. I mean, one of the things that is, we're talking about this, is the education portion of everything. It's like not only just teaching about the park, your interaction with the park, but even going beyond that. I mean, you were bringing up the special events. I imagine those have specificity. I mean, we were talking about dark skies, stargazing and stuff like that is prevalent throughout, the area. I just love that with the outdoors comes these very remarkable specific areas of interest. You can be a bug person, you can be a bird person, you can be a tree or landscape, whatever it may be. There's like special areas of specialization. Like, you can go down the rabbit hole of whatever you want outside. And I imagine for your staff and your team and building these events out, that's just is there one that intrigues you the most? I mean, give us some highlights of those.
Oh, there's quite a few that intrigue me. I really love that we take Hubble Trading Post on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So Hubble will go to some other parks like White Sands and Petroglyph.
Yeah.
And there our staff will talk about Navajo weaving and talk about culture and,
Nice.
educate, to go into other places. And so
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I love that we're a big participant in Tucson Festival of Books,
Oh, awesome.
which is one of the largest book festivals in the country. Over 100,000 people attend.
Yeah.
And we create what's called the National Park Pavilion. And so you take your kids and they get their special junior ranger book and they have to go around to the different tables at the different parks, do a
Oh,
few
awesome.
activities. Then they come back and they get a backpack and, their little badge, and they're just so proud.
Yeah.
And then we host all kinds of different authors, in the nature and conservation space.
Beautiful.
And so we'll moderate author talks. We'll have our retail store there. But there's all these connection points
Yeah.
for people. But one particular program really stands out in my mind that we did last year for the first time. And so you probably don't know, but Tumacacri down south of Tucson,
Okay.
when it rains during the monsoons,
Huh.
they have fireflies. Fireflies in Arizona.
Huh.
Who I would have never thought, recently discovered.
No.
So the park will have night-led walks for people to observe fireflies.
That's awesome.
And so we did an event there for our volunteers, and some
Yeah.
of our supporters, and we all went out there and trudged in the mud in the dark. And for me, I'd never seen a firefly before because I've lived in the West.
Uh-huh.
And it was, wow. It was profound.
It is one of those unique. So I'll be honest, I spend a portion of my life, I talked to you about this in the East Coast.
Right.
And so fireflies are prevalent,
Yeah.
but I lost that idea of what they were when moving back this
Mhm.
way. And so I think about it and I'm like, man, yeah, they're, you don't see those every day. And it's
Mhm.
it's incredible that you guys got to experience something like that. I had the same kind of opportunity in Puerto Rico, the
Oh, wow.
bioluminescence. I want to
Mhm.
make sure I say that right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Those beaches where they light up, and
Mhm.
it's a unique moment where you don't get that every day. And
Right.
it's so incredible when you get to experience something like that.
And so that's what's happening at the parks behind the scenes. The science is happening, right?
Yeah.
Things are being discovered.
Yeah.
Nature is changing, and the park staff, they're learning that. And another thing that we do is we provide research grants to parks.
Yes.
And we just issued our round for 2026. It's $250,000 of research grants for
Incredible.
8 parks to conduct all different types of research.
That's
And
amazing.
and that's how we learn new things. We learn about our planet and our environment,
Yeah.
and what's changing. And, it's really special.
I love that. And so I appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you.
And you have been incredibly insightful about what you do and your staff and your team. And I just genuinely, I want to make sure I don't walk away from this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something that I missed, or if there's something that you want to say, I want to give you the opportunity to just share right now.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I would just say, if people want to, support national parks
Mhm.
and support Western national parks, please, go visit a park. First of all, go
Absolutely.
find a park near you and go visit one.
Yeah.
And if you are passionate about helping parks, become a park protector or buy a book in the store and learn
Yeah.
something new, or follow us on social media, follow us and just learn more. Become
Beautiful.
part of our WMP family. There's room for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're growing, and we have 22 million plus visitors that go to our partner parks a year.
Mhm.
That's a lot of people
That
that
is.
can be caretakers and stewards of our national parks.
Well, I thank you so much for just giving us a little bit, again, of your time and how much you've put into your career with this. It's truly insightful
Thank
because
you.
you again, I love the story of you and your father and just what it means to you. These places are important. And I've always been a believer in the culture of a business. The culture of any business starts from the top down. And so when someone at the helm has a level of appreciation for what they do and care, it means the world, because it's good. It's being led by someone who truly does want to make a difference. So
Thank
I have
you
high
so
hopes.
much.
Yeah, of course. And
Thank
then
you.
I know you may not know all of the websites or all the different
Mhm.
social medias, but I will give you the floor right now to share with everyone a website or two or a social media handle where you would like them to go visit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can follow Western National Parks on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Our website is WNP.org. I think that is correct.
If not,
we're not-
I will make sure that there is a lower third.
We're not hard to find,
Yeah.
but definitely follow us on our social sites.
Oh, awesome.
Because we have a lot of great stories to tell about our parks
Mhm.
and what we're doing and what our parks are doing. And
Okay.
the more people we can share that with, the better.
Awesome. And before we go, we always end our podcast with our website is findingarizonapodcast.com. You can hear every one of our podcasts at all the social media platforms. But on top of that, you can find us at Finding Arizona Podcast under all those social media platforms. But last but not least, we end every conversation with a kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends. And we will see you next time. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That
I
was
appreciate
awesome.
you. That was so, again, thank you guys.